Okay guys, so I'm just going to run through very quickly the Wheatstone bridge. So you should have seen the video at this point that goes through the I suppose the idea behind the Wheatstone bridge and why it works. You basically have two series resistors up here and then two series resistors down here. And what the idea is when those resistors, when the ratio of those are the same, then the potential difference here and the potential difference here is exactly the same. So that's the idea that it works behind. Now, in doing our questions, your Wheatstone bridge, right? The Wheatstone bridge always, it's going to either look like this or it's going to be on the side. But the key point is you need to label these correctly. You need to label what is R1 and what's R2. So this one here is going to be R1, this one is going to be R2, this one is going to be R3, and that one there is already labeled and as R4. Let me just tidy this up a little bit here. That's really, really important. Once you get the labeling right, the formula is very, very simple. So your formula is always R1 over R2 is equal to R3 over R4. But just make sure that where you're connecting, the points that you're connecting, R1 is on one side of it, R2 is always going to be on the other side. Okay, R3 then over here and R4 over here. So watch for that, R1, R2, but then you're coming back over to here for R3 and then for R4. You are not going around in the circle. And then you're always going to get three values and you'll have to find out what the fourth one is. So that's one of the, I suppose, most common uses of a Wheatstone bridge is to find an unknown resistance. And it does this very, very accurately. It's one of the most accurate ways of finding an unknown resistance. So you put down the formula R1 over R2 is equal to R3 over R4 and you fill in what you know. So R1 here is 10 ohms. R2 is 45 ohms, R3 is 30 ohms, and we don't know what R4 is. Once you get it like that, then you are going to cross multiply. So you don't mind what they're doing here. I would just cross multiply the top by the bottom is equal to the top by the bottom. So 45 times 30. So 45 times 30 is equal to R4 times 10. 10 times R4. Okay, so once you have that done, you then want to find out what R4 is. Well, you're just dividing both sides then by 10. So you take that number, whatever that number is, you divide these two by that number. So 45 times 30 divided by 10, and that's your answer for R4, and that turns out to be 135. Little typo there in the book. That should be a 10 instead of an ohm symbol. Same calculation. It's exactly the same thing that you run through. So the two questions that I've given to you, they are on page 275. So I want you to do question 1, part 1 and part 2. Again, they're going to look exactly like that. One of those resistors will be missing. Write it out like that, cross multiply, and then solve for your unknown. Question 2, if you want an extension question, again, you're asked if you're having one resistance, then what other resistor should you double to balance that? So write it out like this and that's probably the best way of solving that. But again, as I said, that's just an extension question. Okay, thanks guys. Enjoy your weekend.